Welcome back to the Organic Rose once again. We're going to make a nice vegetable chicken stock, and eventually that's going to morph its way into a wonderful soup. So to make stock, you need lots of vegetables, onions and garlic, of course. I've got some fresh tomatoes out of the garden. I've got some carrots that I've peeled and cut into wheels. I've got part of a chicken carcass from that roasted chicken, some chicken bones that I pulled out of the freezer, and more chicken bones that I pulled out of the freezer as well. Some celery that I lightly peeled and sliced up. And I've got a little bit of red cabbage, and I just put that in there just because I had some in the fridge and I want to give the stock a little bit of color. So let's start with the red cabbage. We'll put that in the water, turn that up a notch or two to make sure it's just continually simmering. Okay, and then we will start with the items the vegetables that take the longest. So they're going to need the most time. So here's some carrot wheels, or carrot coins. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and put the part of the chicken carcass in there. That's already cooked. Some cooked chicken bones. Okay, that's going to be wonderful. And then I'll go ahead and I've got some raw chicken bones here as well, so I'm going to put those in. These were stockpiled that I stockpiled in the freezer. And that's what I do with chicken bones is the backs and the wingtips and the parts that you don't use, I stockpile them in the freezer, and then when I have a full bag, I go ahead and make a pot of stock out of it. Okay. We have some squash out of the garden. And I'm going to go ahead and add some celery. Whoops, there's a runaway. Put them in there anyway. There's the celery. Okay, I've got some of that julienne of onion. It doesn't have to be julienne. It can be like quarter onions, work fine. I've got garlic slices, kind of a menagerie of everything in here. If you want to give your stock more of a kind of a French onion flair, then you're going to want to go ahead and take your julienne of onions or your onion rings or your even diced onions and go ahead and brown them off in a little bit of butter first. Get them a nice tan color and then add those to your stock. Okay, there's some pieces of bell pepper, some tomatoes, and more tomatoes. Okay, now we're going to go ahead. Oh, you know what? I'm going to throw in a branch of basil as well. Normally you add your seasonings in right at the last minute, but I'm going to use the stock and everything because it's all good. And this actually basil is just starting to flower, but there's some babies coming on there. So I'll put that in there. And you know what, let's give it a little shot of black pepper too while we're at it before we close it up. Okay. Put the lid on it, and now we're going to let it simmer for as long as you want. If you have confidence in your stove and you want to let it simmer overnight, good for you. If you don't, go ahead and give it 4 hours, 5 hours on a nice slow simmer with the cover on. And when it gets down to that last 45 minutes or so, go ahead and crack the lid a little bit just like that and let some of that steam escape. And what that's going to do, it's going to, letting some of those steam vapors escape, it's going to allow your stock to reduce a little bit. And reducing means it's going to get a little bit thicker, not super thick, but just give it a little bit of body and consistency, which is what you're going to appreciate in the long run. You're going to want to let it cool so it's easy to handle, and you're going to pour it through one of these guys. It's a strainer, colander, whatever you want to call it. And this is a really nice one actually. It's tin on the inside, copper on the outside, but I'll set this over a bowl, obviously a much bigger bowl. And then I'll go ahead and set that bowl in the strainer in the kitchen sink. And then I'll take my stock and pour it right over into that. And that's gonna strain it, capture all the vegetables in the strainer, and then you'll get clear stock down beneath. It's not gonna be crystal clear. Label what you put in the freezer and put a date on it as well, whether it's, yeah, you just have to do that. That way you know what's in there and you know how old it is. And that's about it. Your stock will be able to use for sauces and soups, and you don't have to buy a can of stock or a carton of stock in the store. You'll always have your own fresh stock. And having your own fresh stock, you know what's gone into it, besides all your love. But it's there. It's going to be beautiful. It already smells good. It's not even anywhere near being done. So another benefit to it, makes your house smell wonderful. It's a good thing. It makes your house smell like family, and that's what it's all about. So I'll catch you next time on the Organic Rose.